What's up, everybody? My name is D-Max, aka Brandon. This evening, we're doing episode 17 of the Anime Dojo. Tonight, it's going to be kind of a little bit different since Jujutsu Kaisen is going to be on hiatus until August 31st. They put out an announcement for that, so we are getting the second half of that arc. We're going to do something. We're going to do something. We've done this before. We're going to watch 2 episodes of Dead Mount Death Play tonight. Also, we're going to go through the anime charts. So that's gonna be interesting because with Jujutsu Kaisen out of the anime charts for now, that's gonna something shaked up in that chart for the top 10. We'll look into that. Plus, I have a question like I always do, opening question for the guys. So we're gonna talk about that as well. I'm alongside Chris and Dion. Gentlemen, how are you doing this evening?
Feeling all right.
Let's get right into this because the anime charts was very interesting. With JJK out of the anime charts for now, if you look at it, the thing I did not expect, My Happy Marriage is back at the number 1 spot. Then we got Michigan Tensei season 2 went up 4 spots. We got Bleach going up 1 spot from the previous week. It was at 2 the week prior, dropped 2 spots, went back up 1. Then we have Stray Dog season 5 dropped 3 spots. Dark Gathering 2 spots. Reverse R up 4 spots. Undead Girl Murder Farce up 1 spot. The Girl That I Like Forgot Her Glasses up 3 spots. Spy Classifier season 2 dropped a spot, and 7 Spell Blades up 4 spots. I'm gonna ask you both this. What is the big takeaway from this chart for me? Out of all the charts we've looked at, My Happy Marriage has been in the top 5 6 out of the 7, or 6 out of the 5 of the 6 times we've looked at the charts. I have to go back and watch the show now. If it's actually as good, if it's getting this much recognition, it must be good. And the other thing, I have to give Bleach some credit. Bleach is staying up in the top 5 for most weeks. It stayed in top 2 for like 5 to 6 weeks, and it's at 3 now. Or it stayed in the top 2 for 4 out of the 6 weeks, and now it's back at 3. I'm actually kind of surprised because that's kind of an older series in the sense like Bleach has been around for a while. This is a new part of the Bleach series, but everything else is super new. What is y'all big takeaway? And I'll start off with Dion.
I start off with Bleach being one of my favorites. I think it's a lot of their core fan base who are so ready for them to come back with something, and they're part of the big 3 that haven't had something in a long time. And as a fan, we've been like just waiting for it. So I think it's more loyalty than anything that's keeping it up there that high. Also, when I look at this list, it's not a lot of hard-hitting animes. It's a lot of those more dialogue-based animes, I guess, like My Happy Marriage and the Girl I Like Forgot Her Glasses. Mm-hmm. You get a lot of those relationships and stuff like that versus those the heavy hitter ones. Like I would say Bungo Stray Dogs is kind of a more action-packed, but even like Nishoku Tensei, it's been more of a dialogue-based season this year, or this season. And it's mm-hmm. kind of surprising to see, that this list is full of really, I hate to say like touchy-feeling type animes, but it is.
More like it makes you think about your emotions, because a lot of these have the emotional depths of these animes are a lot stronger. Unlike, I'm not saying unlike
exactly.
Tensei, the emotion's there, but there's also a little bit of fighting. Bleach has a lot more fighting, and the emotion's probably not as strong, but it's there in a small bit. And then you have the rest of these: Dark Gathering, Reverse R, Undead Murder Farce, which is basically a murder mystery. The Girl That I Like Forgot Her Glasses. And even to a point, I think with My Happy Marriage, they're all just story-driven. dramas that have a basis for that, which tells me this time around, they're holding off on showing a lot of actiony stuff until we get closer to fall and winter. That could be a reason why, but ultimately we don't really know why we got a lot of these animes in this list this time around. Chris, what is your take on this?
Okay, so firstly, if let's just say Jujutsu Kaisen was on this list, then I would automatically assume if even if it was in the number 4 spot, that means everything from 4 to 10 would be at least one rank below.
Correct.
That's the way I'm looking at it. Now, My Happy Marriage is not really a conversational anime. From what I've seen, it's actually kind of action based. It does have a lot of dialogue, but it is still action based.
It's still action based.
Check it out.
And that's what I mean by like the dialogue content. Like like Mushoku Tensei, it's still action based, but it's had a lot of dialogue this season. But yeah, continue. My bad.
But no, I've been watching Bleach. Both of you guys know I have watched it from episode 1. I am currently on season 22. 22.
Ladies and gentlemen, this man is going through the full gambit of Bleach from the beginning to now. So yes, he's I can attest to that when he says he's watched it through. He's watching it through right now.
So with that being said, I'm not currently watching the current season of Bleach, but however, I can see why it's gathered a fan base the way that it has. Plus, on top of new people like myself who wanted to know what the hype is all about, especially for it being an older, like the way it was explained to me. Let's say if Dragon Ball is one of the oldest animes with the most episodes, then the next episodes to follow would be the current big 3. And Bleach being one of those, which makes sense. So therefore, I think this is a pretty accurate chart compared to what's out right now.
Okay. I will say we are at the halfway point for most of these animes. So we have 6 weeks left. And usually, like me and Chris have done in the past, when we're at the halfway point, you got a good sense of what people like. If My Happy Marriage is at the top, that means people are really enjoying it. If Mugen Tensei Season 2 is up there, people are really enjoying it. If Bleach is up there, like Chris and Dion have both mentioned, it's an older series that's been around for a long time. It's been around the same time, as long as Dragon Ball. And it's one of those things where people want to see why it's all hyped. That's why those are in the top 3. The rest of these do have some kind of fan base behind them. I know Stray Dogs is season 5, so that's been around for a while. Verse R is pretty big amongst fans. Undead Murder Farce, I think a lot of people are enjoying. It is that murder mystery. Out of all of them on this list, that's the one that's most conversational, like Dion's mentioning, where it's a lot of dialogue. That is pretty much Undead Murder Farce. It's a lot of dialogue, and there is a little fighting, very little, but it's mainly built to be a clue style, murder mystery style thing. I'm gonna be very.
What is it, Demon Rampa?
Yeah. I'm gonna be very interested once we get to week 7, 8, 9. By the time we get to week 9, we'll be at the end of August, or we'll be close. We'll be close. Week 7 going into week 8, we'll be at the end of August. And then that will start Jujutsu Kaisen again. That will start a couple other things again. With having and also not having Zom 100 on this list because they get delayed until next week. Is also kind of interesting because if Zom 100 was on the list, I think it cracks the top 5 pretty easily because last episode cracked the top 5 pretty easily by fans. So there's a couple of things that are missing I think would crack this list a little bit more and make it fall down the order. But overall, I think this has been a very good anime summer season for the most part. For most people, I think it's not. It's one where you kind of, if you don't have the time to watch everything, there's a few couple hard hitters there you can watch. Speaking of Zom 100, this gets into the question I have for the guys tonight. And I'm going to mention this because Zom 100 did put out the thing that they are delaying the episode that was supposed to come out this week to next week. Because in Japan, they do still do TV listings. In the sense that it airs in Japan first and then gets to go on streaming sites. Well, it can't air in Japan yet because there's a sports event going on in Japan right now. I think it's the Sporting Olympics. That's what they call it in Japan. And it's created, this is the second delay for Zom 100. And other things have got delayed in the past for other shows. So my question to the gentlemen tonight is, why do you think we get so many delays outside of the obvious thing of other things taking up TV slots? But also, is there a way do you think there's going to be a way to ever fix this? Because more and more now, the last couple months, I know with the winter, the spring season, we had a lot of delays with episodes. What is the big thing? Why do things get delayed so quickly? But in this case, we got the announcement from Zom 100 people that they were going to delay it. We got the previous announcement from they were going to delay a previous episode. So it is more common, and it is more thing they do say it's being delayed. They did delay another show too, but they didn't give a reason why. There's another show that got delayed for next couple for September till September because of some things, but they didn't say why on that one. So what do you think the big reason why we get a lot of delays in anime, and was there a way to fix that?
Who you want to start with?
Either one, Chris, you can start.
Okay, bet. Okay, so it depends on which way you want to look at it. Because obviously, major holidays, or even, I guess you can say, certain holidays that only certain countries represent, it's different. So if you look at it from a holiday standpoint, I don't think that's going to change. And low-key, and honestly, I don't think it should be fixed. Now, if you look at it from a political point of view, that's where things can get a little dicey. You look at what's going on in America right now with the writers' strike. A lot of TV shows and stuff are starting to get canceled and delayed. So hence so it's not too far to say that something in Japan wouldn't be too much different. However, you have to look at the different types of politics that go on overseas rather than it happens there. They literally have teams and teams of people that do different animes year round, and sometimes their work schedules are 10 to 12 hours a week, depending on which studio and what anime they're doing. Now, if you ask me, if they say they needed a break, give them folks a break. I mean, I enjoy my anime like everybody else, but I can't be so ready to watch my show to think that, oh, this person way across the world might be suffering of something or anything. So, yeah, just give the people the day off the way they need it. Or you can always, but if you wanted to fix the delay in it, give people the breaks they need, the time they need, and schedule days off and give them pay the way that they would like to be paid for those holidays, if that holiday pay is available. So that's how you fix that. Yeah.
Okay. I'll let Dion go before I answer.
Chris, I'm sorry. I completely disagree, bro.
and here's the thing. Dion, before you start, I have to say, I give these guys some deep questions, and Chris has said this to me before. It makes him think, which is not a bad thing, but it's also like, I'm on Twitter. I see these things, so it's not like they're coming out of nowhere. There's a reason behind them. And I think it's interesting with people probably like, man, these questions are really deep. How are you all going to answer this? I want to hear somebody who's also what like both of these men have both watched anime, so they kind of understand what's going on in this medium. And I have another perspective, which I'm about to talk about. But Dion, go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, that's perfectly fine. I'm glad you explained that. Um, from a perspective of mine, for one, I'm gonna say this: don't release an anime if you're not ready to release every episode. That's like a music artist releasing a CD or an album, but only giving you 3 songs at a time. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna only release 3 songs. You gotta wait for the 4th and 5th songs. No, release it all at the same time, or at least be ready to release it all at the same time. And I get what you're saying about them having breaks and all of this, but the show must go on. You're giving us this consistency of, or at least what you want to be consistent. If you get that break, you're gonna lose a lot of people following. A lot of people who are interested, especially for new animes like Zom 100, and it's a lot more like the Misfit of Demon King. They've been delayed. They're only on their 2nd season. They already didn't have a big following to begin with, so for the 2nd season to start being super delayed, like, all right, what are y'all doing? And I get right now that they have the event going on in Japan, but how many people are actually watching this event 24/7? Like, I get airtime and all that, but that's y'all lost, Japan. Like, people watch anime all around the world. If you have this company and it release something for the mass, release it. I get y'all got an event going on, but release it. The people who want to watch it can go watch it later. And then release it on the television as needed. But I don't feel like you should make people wait for something.
Whoa. You just did a whole contradiction to what you just said. You realize that, right?
What you mean? You
said as needed.
Yeah, once you release it online or on streaming services and stuff like that, if your network slot comes back, then go ahead and put it on that TV show. But it's already been released everywhere else.
So what's the difference, though? If it didn't go on there, what's the difference?
Well, right now we can't watch it because they don't want it to get they want it to go on TV first, right? So if it just got released, they didn't was like, oh, we got to go on TV first and then we can release it. We would be able to watch it whether it's on TV or not. That wouldn't hold us up as fans. That would just hold the locals up, which is okay, cool.
I mean, I see where you're coming from.
Already started.
See where you're coming from. And it's not like I don't, it's not like I don't understand. But to me, it just sounds a little selfish.
It is. It's completely selfish. 1,000% selfish. But as a consumer, I have the right to be selfish. You know what I'm saying? As a consumer, you have the right to be selfish. You don't go into a restaurant and say, "Oh, is the cook feeling okay today? Are they feeling okay today?" No, you go into a restaurant, you expect to get your food. You go into a store, you expect them to serve you. You log into your whatever streaming service, or you subscribe to whoever providers. You expect to get your service. So for people who purchase manga, for people who purchase merchandise, for people who, actually put forth time and development behind these anime developers, we expect to be served. It's like, yeah, one cook wasn't feeling good, but they go out and put another one in. These are like super big companies. Like, what happens? And I will say it can be like you were saying with the strikes, like that's something that's unavoidable. But this is the whatever the sport event is, that's been scheduled. This is an annual thing, you know. Like we're still getting other animes. It's not like all anime distribution is canceled because of this.
Well, obviously not, especially if other animes are still showing. Like, I mean, I understand
Right.
what you mean.
So you know what I'm saying? Like what makes this one particular company or this one particular anime? Because I believe they have another uh, anime that's streaming. And I could be wrong on that. It could be.
I think they do. I think
Well,
I forget. I don't know the title of it though, but I think they do have something still going in the pipe.
I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna leave it alone. Say this, I'm gonna leave it alone. So it's not like I don't understand what Dion is saying. And in some ways, I do agree with him. Maybe I might be a little bit more sympathetic. That may be me. However, when I look at another country and the way the world is right now, the same way thinking is the same way that Japan has. Why should they get this show if our people ain't got it? That is that studio's decision.
But it's also like you said, why should they? Because they purchased. They're merchandisers, they're consumers, just like Japan is. And I get Japan is like their home, and you know that's where they really try to develop themselves. But let's be honest. Right now, there's so many more people all around the world that have developed an appetite for anime, you know, on cons and merchandising and manga sales. Like, yeah, Japan is your home, but you got to feed everybody else too.
I do have a question for Brandon, right? Because I know you still have your response to give. So this can kind of tie into your response.
Go ahead.
So with the replies that both me and Dion gave, now my only thought process after that is Down 100, which is the anime in question. Do you think it's the mediums that they're involved in that set them apart from the animes we watch only on Crunchyroll? And then after you give your answer, I have a little reveal for you if you didn't already know.
So I do know Zom 100 is also being shown on Netflix. I also do know Zom 100 is also being shown on one other streaming site. I don't remember the other streaming site for sure. I also know the movie had came out, so we have that. We have that as well. I will say this. For me, I think the big thing and the thing I look at for this, there's two schools of thought, and I'll give you both schools. One is the same problem here in the Americas, in the sense that if a sporting event or something takes over something, that is always going to be first. Good example, NBA Finals, playoffs, Super Bowl. I could go down a list of Olympics, any big tennis events. That automatically would probably take over a spot on television outside of, there's a few other exceptions, outside the few exceptions of presidential debates. That takes up spots in the United States for TV time, so shows get bumped. We have news events that get bumped. News events bump other things because of that. So the same rule applies, I think, in that sense for Japan. Bigger events will take up spots if they're more profitable or more of a thing that's normal. The other flip side of this coin, and I agree with Chris on this, the fact that I do think people do need their rest, their time to do things. Yes, it is kind of annoying. It is annoying that we have to wait a week. Absolutely. But at least they told us. The other thing is, I'd rather people get their rest and be right of mind to make something great and not half do it. The other reason I bring this up, what I'm about to mention, simple fact, video games. And most people who listen to us probably know we all three play video games for a lot. Most video games, and people say this all the time, are half done, half baked. not finished, not
Oh,
complete. What, and I get that, but also the same problem is it lies in video game development crunch, as what they call an industry crunch, where they're working 100 something hours a week, where they're sleeping at the office, where they're doing things outside your normal habits to where you can't see family, you're doing other things, and you're just pushing and pushing, pushing to get this game out. So the game has hits a deadline. Here's my thing: if we're gonna, if we're
but once
we
you get
talk,
to the deadline, you're done.
yes, yes,
Go
but
to sleep then.
here's the other problem with that, and I think that's the thing I don't agree with you on, Dion. To be all due respect,
Mhm.
is that when a game is done, there are still bugs, there are still glitches, there are still things broken in most games when they come out. I know everything can't be caught right away. That makes sense. But here's the thing: I'd rather you take your, and I've talked, and one of our good friends, Chris's cousin, by the way, Drew. I've talked to Drew about this a bunch with games. I don't care if you take 5 years on a game. You know why? If you take 5 years on a game and take your time, it will come out better than it would have came out if you took two. You know why? You have enough time
I can agree with that.
to actually do the work you need to do, get the right testing, have the QA testers do everything they need to do to make the game the best it can be. Are there going to still be glitches and bugs within a 5 year period? After a 5 year period, absolutely. You're not going to catch everything, but the amount of glitches, amount of small things that need to be fixed, are very few and far between. You're going to have a day one patch anyway, so that day one patch is going to fix a lot of that stuff. Let me go back to anime. I honestly think here's the thing: we get a lot of anime announcements like that. We get a lot of anime announcements quick, fast. So they'll announce anime in it like a year or two before it comes out. They'll announce the anime 3 or 4 years before it comes out. The thing is, when you do that, you get a lot of hype. Also, the thing is, in that time, you're gonna probably do the first couple episodes of the anime really, really good because you have the time, you got the budget behind it. The other thing is, and I think that's the bigger issue, is when you do the first couple episodes with this great animation, great voice actors, dialogue is amazing, all that kind of stuff. I think the other side of that coin is, well, we got the first couple episodes done. Hope it hits with fans. Okay, it hit a couple hit. Now they get more money, they get more backing. Now you're now keeping up a standard of something almost to a level grade show. Or the best way to put it in gamer terms is a triple A game. That is hard to do every single week. And it's not even, and I don't expect that. Yes, is most anime not fully polished? Absolutely. But my big thing, and I always tell Drew this with games, me and Drew have this unlocked with games. My big thing is frame rate and gameplay. If those two things are good, and story, if the story is decent, if those three things are good, everything else is just add on. I don't need a game that looks like 4K ray tracing, looks amazing. I'm watching a movie. I can have a 1080p game and it looks fine to me. I run a 1440p game and runs at 60, it looks great to me. When anime, as long as the visuals are decent enough, but yet the story, the characters, everything else is amazing, fine. Every episode don't need to be a movie, but every episode do need its time to cook in the oven. And that's the big thing with anime. I think they have a hard time doing. Every episode needs time to cook in the oven, and it doesn't get that time sometimes when they're doing it week by week by week by week. But on the flip side of the coin, the first time we got a delay, it was because the episode didn't go out fast enough to streaming sites. It aired on TV, but it came out. Got late to streaming sites, so it already aired. This time around, it's for a TV reason and for another thing entirely. Chris, you can ask her the question. I'm sorry, I kind of went on a tangent there. Not a tangent, but I answered the question, but by also giving my opinion. But Chris, what was your other side of that question?
You did answer my question.
Oh, okay, I did. Okay, good.
You did answer it, but I will give you my little reveal that you didn't already know. So we all heard that Disney Plus is trying to come out with their own animes, correct?
Correct.
And last season, they actually had a good one that came across well, called Heavenly Delusion.
Yes, I remember the title. Yeah.
Okay. Now, do we know? We all know that Hulu is one of Disney's subsidiaries, right?
They own Hulu. Mm-hmm.
Now, guess which service is now on Hulu?
Disney Plus.
No. Dion, want to give a crack? Nobody? Everybody gets up?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Crunchyroll.
Oh. What? How?
Yes. Yeah. Threw me for a loop too.
All right, then. That partially kind of throws something to a spanner, in a spanner in the works, but that kind of just tells you something's not great.
Politics, man.
Yeah. As we're finishing up this talk, by the way, get up episode 6 of Dead Mountain Death Play. I will say this. Both of you aren't wrong. There are both sides of the coin there. I think it's just the way people look at it. And yet we are conditioned, and sadly, this is the way the world worked. We are so conditioned to have things be immediate, have things on at a certain time every day. We've gotten used to it so much. Or in most cases, we've had things where you just binge watch a whole series. Good example, Chris is binge watching Bleach right now. It goes back to a conversation we had a couple months ago, I think episode 7, episode 6, where we talked about should they release a whole anime straight up, or do you like the episodic thing? And I remember Dion said he'd rather have the full-on episodes where it's not, you don't have to wait a week by week basis. I think the only problem with doing that is the polish wouldn't be there if you did them all at once, because then they would have to just make the whole season and then drop it. They have done that with Netflix and Hulu and even Disney Plus for some of them. So it is there. It is possible. But I don't know how much of that is going to stay the same. But I will say this. Let me know what y'all think. I do appreciate it. I want to hear what y'all think. Hit me up in the comments. Hit me in the comments on the video when I put on YouTube. Hit me in the comments on Twitter. I want you to know what y'all think about this, because it's an interesting thing. I'm going to ask you both this before we watch Dead Mountain Death Play. Chris, do you think we see more delays in the upcoming summer season? And do you think it affects what's coming out in the winter or fall in this case?
I hope we don't get any more delays, but we probably will. Let's just be honest. But I hope we don't get any in the winter season, because we usually don't. So, what was the second part of the question?
Do you think if we do get any more delays in the summer, do you think it affects the winter season or the fall season? Fall season going into winter, basically.
No, because I have seen seasons overlap each other.
Okay. Dion, same question to you. What do you think we're going to have any more delays over the summer, and do you think it's going to affect the fall season?
I don't think the summer is gonna have. I don't think they'll have mid reveal breaks. Like you've already started the anime and then you take a break like Zama and Ezra. But there may be a few delays to even premiere. Simply because there's already some now that are delayed that have no date attached. So you may still have some that's like, oh yeah, we're gonna come out, but then they approach a problem and now they gotta start over or something. But as far as affecting the fall season, I don't see any of the summer releases affecting the fall season just because I feel like a lot of the ones coming out in the fall are coming out of different studios.
Okay.
But, who knows?
Yeah, that's true. By the way, if everybody's I know people are gonna probably think about this in the comments of this video or even thinking about it as they're listening to this podcast. Oh, we're all good friends. So these are all three different opinions, and all three different opinions probably are very similar to people who are listening to the podcast because a lot of people like their stuff immediate. A lot of people don't mind for them to wait, like I don't. A lot of people are Chris's view. People are people. Let them have their time. So I don't think any of three of us are wrong. I think it's just the way you see things and how you consume your media, and that's gonna be the big thing with this. I think a lot of people understood, but I think a lot of people are also kind of like they don't want to see more happen because they feel like if more happen, there's something wrong with the studio, something's going wrong in that, internally, and they feel like that'd be a bad thing. Ultimately, I hope people are getting their rest. I hope people are not overworked, but at the same time, every once in a while, I think it's a balancing act of making something really great, but also not overdoing it. But let's get into Dead Mount Death Play episode 6. Before I get into this, Dion, did you watch the previous episode?
Yeah, I'm actually, yeah, I think absolutely.
Okay. Before we get into this, what do you think of the previous episode?
What was it called? The Monster?
Yes, the Monster.
Sorry, I started this real quick. Let me. The previous episode, I want to say it was a little lackluster for what I was expecting.
Okay.
But as far as development, I think it had a strong presence with giving a little bit more to the story and character development, and introduced a few new people, and gave us a little bit more of answers, I guess, than having.
Why do you think it was Why do you think it was lackluster? Because Chris said he thought the same thing. What was your reason for thinking it's lackluster?
I want to say we spent 60% of the episode in their room.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
we had a few different action things kind of take place, but for the most part, we really was sitting down talking, the entire episode, and it was interesting conversations. Like we found out about the twins and all this other stuff, but it really wasn't anything exciting. It wasn't like, oh my God, that's who that is, or like, you didn't get really any breakthrough information. You just kind of got some tidbits, and it's like, all right, you're not gonna give me somebody decapitating something or someone else dying or anything like that. At least give me like a ooh aha moment, and I didn't have that in this episode.
Chris, remind me why you thought the episode was kind of lackluster. Was it the same reason, pretty much?
Because not necessarily, but it was the one scene where he just started spewing his feelings, and he just took him way out of character.
Yeah, okay. That's okay. That was the other thing. All right. Because I thought that was actually pretty decent, but it does feel kind of rushed. That's why I figured that about. Yeah, it feels kind of rushed.
Yeah, I didn't mind that part.
I didn't mind it. I do agree with Chris now. Thinking back, it is kind of weird that he does that, and that's his character. Like that's a character change, but it's a weird character change. It's not something you would do because he's already a pretty evil person. But at the same time, he wants to do good. So it's kind of that balance is there for a reason, but it does feel off.
Yeah. And then you see how sensitive he is from the very first episode and in various episodes where he's crying over children and not necessarily crying, but, overreacting over children. And he's got this, he almost has he has this corpse god demeanor, but there's always this sense of sadness looming over him.
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
To see that particular part is kind of like, I guess just my perception of it is like I could understand that happening. Plus he likes to monologue. I mean, remember the very first episode he was monologuing to a dead body.
Yeah, so, he did monologue to a dead body. He does like to talk. All right, so let's get into this. I hope you have episode 6 of Dead Mount Death Play up, where I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. Gentlemen, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. The fire starter. Oh yeah, that's the mansion. This is the mansion right there in the last episode they're going to.
Focus home.
All right then. How? All right, we're just gonna start off with that. She's prim and proper. Okay.
No, we want to talk about out of character.
That's not a character for her. But she also knows the situation, so she is an assassin. So I am not gonna poo-poo that a little. I'm not gonna say that's bad because that makes sense for her. I will say with this opening, if you remember the opening from Jujutsu Kaisen, Dion, it has that same fast cutting, but it makes sense how they're cutting it.
Yeah, I like that, and it goes so well with the rhythm of the music.
Correct. Man, that state looked good. Well, yeah, you're trying to lay low.
Hard to do with a moving shark
On your
puppet.
shoulder.
I got to admit, that's an odd family.
Oh, it's a super odd family.
I will be using that.
But I
Bedroom
love how
security officer. That's my new job.
Why would you have a bedroom security? Never mind. I'm not gonna. Never mind. I don't want to. Wait. We're having a meeting here. He talks about last vacation, a movie he watched. What the world?
Yep. Have
I have a
you ever
new
met
favorite
somebody
character.
like that? That's your favorite character? Bet.
Yeah, grandfather is like my new favorite character now. Or father.
Bro, I've seen somebody like that at Toyota, and I'm not gonna lie, it kind of scared me a little bit.
Yes, every big mama in a black household.
Maybe so, but they don't scare me as much as old Asian dude that walk around a company building dressed like that.
Well, that just tell you he's seen some stuff. He's seen everything, literally. Like there's nothing. There's nothing he's.
Yeah, dude actually cool does something.
Oh, that demon is creepy.
Yeah.
That's stuff. That's the reason I said that. He has that weird hunch of like he knows things. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Tell you favorite character energy.
Yep.
His story, his life story. Like how he get this code.
See, like that's the kind of old man I want to be when I get old. I gotta go. I gotta travel. The day I disappear, y'all already know what's up.
Him and then the guy from Way of the House Husband, Spirit Animals.
Who was the lady under the table? I'm not okay. Wait a minute. We're inside the girl.
I think we're looking at the point of view from the demon or the spirit, or whatever it is.
I'm trying hard not to mix it up with Jujutsu Kaisen and call them curses and curse energy.
Man, because
yeah,
I've been watching Bleach.
They're spirits.
I've been watching everything, bro. It's not even funny.
Wait a minute. That's their mother. Who burned alive.
Big sister.
Ooh. He's trying to warn her, don't go. Oh no. You lured the kid. Oh great. Nope, knee to the face.
Ooh. You know his brain is rattled.
That hurt. God, what a life.
Speaking to the spirit. Space just fell off? Okay.
Wait, there's a mask? Y'all might want to do what the lady says.
Right.
like don't stand there.
Good
Don't
big
stand there.
brother. Good big brother.
Her demeanor is entirely different.
It is so good here. I love this.
Yeah.
Oh wait, we're gonna get about fighting in a burning building? Okay. All right.
Yep. He don't know that she can't really die.
Nope. Oh, you were dirty. Why were you dirty?
All right, he's about to disappear.
A beautiful scene so far.
Wait.
Absolutely.
He has no idea what's going on.
Nope, he doesn't. Bye-bye.
He thought he got away with it.
Dang, bro.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't think you want to. I don't think you want to mess with that.
Mm-mm.
What?
Second favorite character.
Lemmings.
Yep, that is my favorite character.
Yo.
Yep, and just walk away. Yep.
Oh, it's the secret to everybody.
He came out of nowhere like Batman.
Yep, the real guy.
and then just left without a trace.
Oh, look.
Okay, I like her demeanor. All right.
I just like
Lemmings work for
Clarice.
Poca's family.
What
Bugging me, you bugging me, you
the?
bugging who you bugging, boo.
Now, if that ain't the stuff of nightmares,
Like, the song playing in the background. I have to say something. I wasn't gonna be able to sleep tonight.
Who is she?
Fire safe. So is that the real fire bug?
Uh,
why
I
do
mean,
I actually know that song though? Brandy, do you want to roll through, or do you want to pause and stop talking?
let's stop for a second because here's the thing. That episode was only 23 minutes. But yet, in 23 minutes, you gave us so much stuff. I, I don't know where to start because here's the thing. We start this episode where the previous episode leaves off. They're heading to the mansion to meet the kids, to meet the family, all that kind of stuff. Cool. We got that figured out. So he gets the house. Pokey's like, I'm here to meet the dude. And the guy asks, why is the girl with you? And the girl, he's like, she's a friend. She's somebody I know. On a dime, and Dion mentioned it right away. The girl goes into this proper, like kind of a girl you want to take to your mother kind of thing. She goes that proper, and it's out of this world amazing. Then we get to the family dinner. They kind of talk about who he is, who's Pokey, why the girl with her. The girl kind of says, "I have a family business. He saved my life." All this other stuff. I won't go through that whole section because that whole section is just a lot of talking. It is not really much of that dialogue. Doesn't really matter except for one thing. Well, two things. One of the guys at the end of the table that he talks to, he's like, "I don't know who he is. Is part of the family. Who is he?" And they say the guy's name, but that's actually not the guy's name. The guy's name is just like he's like their lawyer or something. Then we get the character that I didn't expect. We get this old man, and Chris brought this up. This old man walks in wearing this like kimono looking thing, grandfather as they call him. And this dude, stoic, kind of starts off going, "Oh, I watched that movie you told me about, which is one of his kids or grandkids or whatever. I liked it. It's actually really good." And the guy goes with the glasses, "Oh, it's a shark movie, so that's why this." And then this stems from the shark he saw. The little kid saw the shark on the shoulder. I'm going to ask you this, gentlemen. From that first bit alone, that first bit was maybe about 8 minutes. Not even that. What did y'all think about that? And I'll start off with Dion.
Oh, let's just say Focus Dad is my new favorite character. It was the bartender, but this guy gives that just vibe of don't mess with me. The way he stared down the lawyer guy or the one of the husbands to somebody in the family, whatever. And he makes them back down so easily. He just gives that energy. It's like, okay, I could see the corpse god actually coming from this family, but the change up was so unexpected from the girl. That was unexpected. I did not want to see it until I seen it. You know what I'm saying? Like, seeing her beforehand was like, oh, I love her as a character. Like, she's so cool. But then you see the change, and you're like, oh, this is interesting. That first part was very interesting with a few different little twists and spins to it.
Okay. Chris, what did you think about this first little section we got of this episode?
Okay. Have either one of you, or maybe anyone of our audience, has maybe seen that movie called Fight Night? Or is it Night Fight?
Yes.
Yeah,
Fight Night?
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about the Christmas movie.
You're talking about which movie?
Christmas movie.
Christmas. Oh, yes. I've seen it. I know what you're talking about. I don't know the title, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So that scene reminded me a lot of this movie. So it's like you have family members who are trying to impress grandpa, who are like, he's loaded. We want to make sure he's on his good side. They just kind of sucking, kissing ass to him, but he knows it, and his family, he knows it. So,
are you talking about Violent Night?
No, I'm sorry. That movie is called Violent Night.
But yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
But the other app comparison I could see to this, Violent Night's one of them. The other one is Knives Out. Because it reminded me of the Knives Out movie where they're trying to figure out who did what to the killer. But in this case, it's not a killer, like you said. They're trying to press grandfather. They don't care about anything else.
Yeah, so but that's what I'm saying. So what this movie reminded me of that scene. It's like they're all kind of kissing ass, but that's Grandpa. He got the money. We want what he got. We want to make sure he in his will. But Grandpa come out, but Grandpa ain't that. He old, but he ain't senile. And he let everybody in there know. You know what I'm saying? And just like Dion was talking about that one guy, the salesman. His question was, he was trying not to be rude, but his question was like, "Nigga, why is you really here? Why? What makes you think you can be in my house?"
Yeah.
That was the vibe that I got. Just so.
The equivalency of new phone. Who this?
Yep, basically. So then we go from that. So we see the grandfather. Pokey walks up to the grandfather and says, "Dad, I'm sorry I left you." All this kind of stuff. He's also trying to kiss up to the grandfather a little bit, but he's also trying to learn things himself. So then the grandfather goes, don't basically like, don't apologize. You did nothing wrong. And then they go have a talk off by themselves. And this talk is so weird because they start talking, and right as you hear them talking, the grandfather knows what's going on. The grandfather's like, "You're not my real Pokey. Where is my real Pokey? And what happened to him? I see him in the flesh right in front of me. I see everything, I see everything. But you're not him." So then out of nowhere, he just pulls out this sword we don't know where he grabbed the sword, by the way, in his cloak somewhere. Just pulls out the sword and puts it to Pokey's neck. You're like, wait, so you're saying that looks like your son, that feels like your son, but he's not actually my son. Where's my actual son's soul? Then they do a hard cut. They're like, you know what? This is getting too serious. Explosion comes out of the forest. Pokey goes, "I need to go see what that's about." Wait, and the grandpa's like, "What? What are you talking about?" And then he's like, "Can I go check on that? I need to see if the kids are okay." The kids are okay. And the grandpa's like, "Fine, go ahead." He leaves. Pokey leaves, go see what happens over there. Grandfather's just standing there like, "Okay, but you're nobody normally moves like that. I see your magic thing." "Okay, cool, fine. We're not gonna bother." Then I love the fact. Then there's a girl underneath the table. The girl goes, you should have killed him when you had a chance. Why didn't you? He's still my son, basically." I'm like, okay, all right then. So then from that, we cut back to the police. And the police are talking to this dude. Don't know who this dude is. Don't really know much about this dude. Basically asking him some questions about some fire starter things, all that kind of stuff. And then they're going through this thing, and we don't figure out much from this conversation. They just kind of leave it as is and walk off. Or leave it as is and they cut away. So my question to y'all, what y'all think about this section? Because this section basically kind of gives you the fact that the grandfather has a heart. He does care, but he also knows something's afoot. And Dion, I'll start with you.
I'll just say this. As a parent, we can tell our children from their mannerisms, the way they speak. Like, if my daughter was to call my phone right now and not say anything, I could tell it was her by the way she breathes. So I understand him knowing immediately. What I don't understand about that situation is Polka. He already was confronted by the twin saying that his demeanor was completely different and off. So if he was trying to fool the grandfather, I don't understand why he wouldn't get the real Polka's opinion on his mannerisms or something, He kind of just went in there the same way he's always is. Just very court goddish, not necessarily Polka-ish.
He did.
And, you just kind of know that's not fooling the parents. Yeah.
So, Chris, what you think about this? I forgot to mention one other thing. Between the time he talked to the grandfather in the dining room, to the time they go outside, go to the other building and talk, we do cut back to the team in the house, and the tech dude goes, oh, he's part of this really rich family, that has high end security. That this security is so well known to the point people want to work for the security team. So be on your guard. I'm like, why do you tell him that at first? But we're seeing a flashback of it, so this was something he already found out. But I like I asked Chris, what do you think about this section, including that part as well? I forgot to mention it.
Well, see, and this is like the beginning of the conflict of a story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it gets tense as he's talking to the grandpa, because the grandpa, just like Dion said, like Brandon, if you don't call your mom in probably 48 to 72 hours, she knows something wrong. Probably I don't know your mom like that, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you call her, like, I don't know what it is, because I get it from my niece. If I get a random call today and it's from my niece, I automatically know something wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
Absolutely.
like, it's people, they're like, just like Dion saying, their mannerisms, the way they talk, the way they move. It's, you know, after spending years with people, you can recognize things like that. So, like Brandon, even you, I know I could probably tell when you have something else to do, depending on the time of day that you text me.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So now going into the story, everything there is setting up because you know something is going to happen. You know there is a spirit. You know there are kids in danger, but you don't know what's going to happen. And they do a good job of keeping the mystery up all the way till the next part that you're about to give.
Yep. So then we see, and they did this perfectly, so perfectly, and I thought it was a real person, but it wasn't. It's the spirit of the sister of the little kid's spirit. In this case, it's her physical body at the time this happened, but we're looking at through her eyes. So she's going to find this bag the kids left in the forest. So she goes to get this bag. We're still seeing it through her eyes through all this. Then we see the guy that was at the head of the table on the far end next to Pokey. The other dude that I forget who he was, but he was also at the table. They're talking and they go like, well, can we start this process faster? And he's like, it's going to take 2 years. 2 years seems like a long wait. Well, if we do it slowly, we can slowly get rid of the family and basically burn them out. And as we get to that point, we can destroy everybody and take everything for ourselves. Basically plotting to pretty much kill the family. So she hears all this and she runs back to them and try to warn them. In the process of doing that, she gets burned. Figuratively and literally. And it's a way of her feeling guilty because she heard about this a long time ago and she never got a chance to warn anybody. Then, on top of it all, we go back to the present time and you see the kids walking in the hallway. The guy with I think he has the hair and everything, one of the guys that's in the house, part of the family, supposed to be part of the family, says, we need to get out of here. Something went wrong. Something exploded. And so she gets the kids. They're about to leave. They get to the bottom of this basement thing. And then the little girl goes, and the little girl goes to the boy. She knows something's wrong. And he goes, what's wrong? We have to get out of here. And she's like, well, there's no way to get out of here. There's no passageway. There's nothing. It's a dead end. And he's like, wait, what? And then the guy who had the hair on takes the hair off, has a scar on his face. And it's just like, or he doesn't take the hair off, but you can see his demeanor change. And the demeanor change, he's like, I lured you in my trap. Now you're going to be dead. And on top of it all, it was foreshadowing something from earlier we saw in a flashback. I'm going to roll through this next part because this next part actually makes more sense if I roll through it. So then they're about to get destroyed. He's about to burn them with these gloves that make special lightning that turn the fire. Then out of nowhere, girl that's a zombie comes out of nowhere and goes, you ain't doing this. I'm fighting you. And all the time she's still prim and proper. I'm like, okay, you're still prim and proper and also fighting a dude that's evil. Okay, I'm surprised you're keeping the persona up now. Then she's like, kids, get out of here. But and she's like, go now. And they're just like, okay. They're about to leave. They're slowly leaving. He puts out more fire. She grabs a pipe. They start fighting. Goes nuts. Doesn't really matter. Doesn't really they don't really talk about much outside of the fact that she knows who he is and she kind of knows what he does, but he does not know what she is. So he does not know if she's a zombie. Shockingly. But he does have a hunch. He does say at one point when she kicks the pipe up, she's like, how she's not burning? Something different about her. Then at the nick of time, as this fire is getting burning, Pokey comes, saves the kids, and takes them out of the building. Gentlemen, I have to ask you this. At this part, Chris, what do you think about the foreshadowing from the part we saw with the sister to the end of the fight when Pokey saves the kids? Because all of that kind of connects together and it makes it feel like it was foreshadowing something that was going to happen later. The beginning was foreshadowing the present.
So basically, from the nice flashback that kind of gives us the idea of who the spirit is, she's her big sister, and going into the actual conflict of the episode and seeing what's going on, it's like, man, like he goes to the kids and tells them it's a fire somewhere else, leaves them somewhere just to actually set the fire. Think about that. He had already planned everything.
He had pre-planned it all.
Like, that's kind of creepy. Yeah, that's creepy. Now, as they're fighting, old girl come in there with the knee to the head. I mean,
literally knee to the face, flush. Like she didn't pull back. She didn't pull back.
So clean.
But now, see, that's the thing. Let's think about anime. Normally, that knock somebody out if it don't kill you. So the dude got back up. He ready to keep fighting. Girl ready to keep fighting. Girl tell kids to run. Like, honestly, if it was some black kids, I don't think you would have had let them down there. Anyways, now, as the fight is going to, we go back to the surface and we're seeing the other things that are going on. Things are coming to starting to come to a resolution. Old dude happened to sneak out some way. I don't know how he sneaked out, but he got out. But that's when our main protagonist like, nah, bruh, you ain't going nowhere. Or so he thought. He turned up the fire on him too. Now, honestly, I thought that was a bit of a weak point. Like, dude, you literally, like, probably the most talented spiritist, whatever medium, whatever you want to call it in the show. I'm surprised you didn't just snatch his soul out of his body. I mean, that's what I would have done. That's when my favorite character comes in. Yeah, that's when my favorite character comes in, puts him down, and then just walks out like, yeah, I wasn't here.
So, before I'm gonna ask you on this, before I ask him this though, I will say they do mention later in this episode, and he does mention it a couple times. Pokey does mention he doesn't have enough mana. At the same point, we've seen this dude do some weird things, so I don't really fully believe he doesn't have enough mana. But I digress. It is plot point. It's a plot thing, so it doesn't feel like he's overpowered. Fine. Dion, what do you think about that section? So from the time we see the spirit, the flashback of the older sister, to the point we see the fight and the ending happenings of that fight, what do you think about that?
Well, I'll say we've had some very inconsistent flashback motifs in this
Yeah.
anime
Yeah.
itself. They'll flashback in a thought bubble, they'll flashback in like a full frame flashback, but this I want to say is one of the most creative flashbacks that they've had. It kind of puts you in the moment, it puts you on the edge of your seat, like what's going on. And I enjoyed that flashback. What I didn't understand though is if Grandpa is so smooth to the point where you don't even realize he's got guards hiding under tables while you're sitting in the room and you're the corpse god, how do you let this happen to? But I mean, I digress. That just gave me some logical questions or illogical questions, I guess. But all in all, it was a smooth scene. Then we transition into the present where you get the twins in this room, and yeah, you're right. They wouldn't have went down there had there been anything else. But they in this room, and the flying knee super samurai move come out of nowhere. The only thing that could have made that thing better is had he been in the middle of a full-fledged monologue.
Yeah, he keeps talking, and then she just knocks him out. Like, really? Wait, I was talking here.
Yeah.
That'd be funny.
The only thing that could have made that better to me. But you know, that scene was okay. I enjoyed the aspect of it, but I don't understand how he survived from dealing with her out of all of the people he could have fought. I think they kind of made her a little bit too prim and proper, because Psycho wouldn't have let him walk out of that room. Fire it on.
Thank you.
I think the thing is,
no way for him to get out.
I think the thing is why she stays so prim and proper up through this point until we get outside is because I think the two groups don't know much about each other. So I'm guessing both groups are like, we don't want to look crazy for the other group, in the sense that, I'm not saying I don't say both groups are crazy, but in the sense that she don't want to feel like, oh, I'm just this crazy chick that does some weird things. But also the family's like, I don't want to be looking crazy in front of them either. So she tries to stay prim and proper. She doesn't kill him right away. They end up get him later. I'm gonna explain that whole ending thing about that. But I think as I explained the ending too, there's a plot point that I don't get, and I'm gonna bring it out when I talk about the ending. But I think that's the reason why she stays in that prim and proper, because she's in that place and she's like, I don't want to look overly weird because people don't know that I'm overly weird. And even when he says there's something weird about her, even though she's not getting burned and staying alive, he knew something was up, but he couldn't pinpoint it either.
Yeah.
So then,
I guess I feel like they did that to be able to bring Lemmings in at the scene that Chris likes.
Correct.
I think that was just, a little.
Yeah.
Like,
so
I digress. It was cool.
So then we cut again back to the police station. They're talking to that dude again. The dude pretty much says, I'm not going to recap this because he pretty much says nothing much of nothing outside of the fact that y'all are looking in the wrong place. Something's wrong. Y'all didn't look in the right place. So what are we supposed to be looking for? Then he explains, oh, this has been happening way before this. All this kind of stuff kind of roll. So he knows about Firestarter. This guy in jail knows about Firestarter. So he knows what's going on. So then we cut back to the house. They're outside. Everybody's happy. The kids are safe. Everybody's safe. Everything's going well. Well, we have this one maid who's not a maid. And who's a maid. And yet Pookie's like, I have had my eye on you ever since I came here. You're not like who you seem. Drop the act. Which Pokey's finally learning from the grandfather that, hey, people aren't what they seem. Be on your guard. Okay, cool. So Pokey pretty much knows this dude is an actual dude, not a lady. Dude drops the act. He's a dude. He's like, I'm gonna burn you where you stand. I'm gonna literally burn you where you stand. You aren't gonna be alive. You are done. He just shoots a bunch of fire. Pokey's like, I can't get near them. I don't have enough mana. That's where the mana line comes in. But he says, oh, wait, I see two people up
God.
in the two people in the distance. Wait, two people in the distance? What are you talking about? Randomly, and then somebody jumps out the sky, don't know from where, and they say, Lemmings? What's Lemmings doing here? Lemmings knocks the dude out. Pretty much he's not gonna wake up anymore. He's done. And Lemmings just leaves. Lemmings like, I'm here to help you. I'm gonna knock you out and walk away. Bye-bye. Like doesn't even say anything to them. Then on top of that, we get to this other scene where the guy that was in the meeting with the family he's in a car driving away. And he's like, I'm good. They're gonna finish the mission. We're good. Everything's going well. Prior to that scene, though, the dad, the head with the glasses, the other guy that they're talking to at the dinner, the glasses guy, was like, "Oh, we can go get him. Don't worry about that. We got him." So then we see these three trucks.
His nephew.
This biker come up, and the biker gets off her bike. We don't know it's a her yet. And they do this like they did with the other girl. And I kind of think they're just going to keep doing it now. She gets on the bike. The first thing we see is her chest. Well, I'm like, okay, fair enough. Fine. Cool. Don't know why. And all we see is his face, and he's still talking. Doesn't know what's going on. Still doesn't know what's going on. And then we just see a random punch to the face. Random punch to the face. He's knocked out. Then we cut back again. So kids are still safe. Everything is going well. But then we cut back to everybody talking and everything. And he says, Pokey tells him, like, the spirit's not angry with you. She still cares for you. All that stuff. The spirit's more in a normal purplish color. From that point, we go back to the guy who's tossed in a room with all these ropes tied in a chair. Does that from that chair, you see the girl that knocked him out, you see the guy that has the glasses, you see Lemmings, you see a couple other people, and they're just about to torture him, basically, look like, because the girl pulls out like this like X-Acto knife looking thing, like something for a camping trip, Swiss Army knife kind of style thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then we end the episode, and this is where it gets weird. We end the episode on something I never thought they would do. We have the guy that started this whole saga with trying to take the kids, lure them to a dead end, all that stuff. He's in a cop car. And he's kind of just like sitting there. He knows he's going to get out eventually. Then we see something writing on the wall, like a ghost had wrote something on the wall saying, something about Firestarter, you messed up. You're not the real Firestarter. You're a fake. You're a fake. You're a fake. And then he sees these spirit things, and he doesn't know what's going on. He's going crazy. He's basically going crazy, but the people around him are like, "What's going on?" And then at a drop of a hat, you hear this song start playing, or somebody's singing. And as they're singing this, we don't know who is, a guy or girl. His face just burns up in flames, and he gets out of the car and just burns up and goes. The singing continues. We get a long shot of this burning car, from the burning car's perspective, up to a bridge. Little girl with a umbrella saying fire safety. And that's how the episode ends. Gentlemen, I'm going to ask you this. From the point we get to where Pokey finds out about the maid to the ending, what did you think about all that? And Chris, I'll start off with you.
I mean, really, now they're just setting up for the bigger reveal, like, because they understand that this is a bigger story that they have to expand on. So really, now they're just setting us up for what's to come. So I think now we're starting to see the real foreshadowing now.
Yeah. And there is one plot point that I think I didn't mention it in the long day. recap, I mentioned here before I asked Dion what he thought. How did the guy that was luring the kids to the dead end get to a cop car and surrounded by police and then die? We never see how that happens. So they don't explain, did the cops grab him right after that happened? Or is it they handcuffed him, he leaves? What? We don't really get that explanation. That's also kind of weird to me. And also, why the cops can go after the dude that's all tied up in the warehouse with the family? But that can be explained because they're a high-powered family. They have all the security. They can do whatever they want. But Dion, what did you think of this last back section?
All right, I'm gonna start off by saying this. I'm getting tired of this meta conversation. Polka having any type of meta is enough meta. So I just need him to understand that already.
But I think
no one else in this world is meta.
I think the thing Chris talked about, which I think is going to come up later down the line this season, and even when they are making season 2, ladies and gentlemen, that's coming out this fall. I think the big thing with that is he's going to finally figure out, oh, I can take people's spirits and use them for myself. That's the big thing when Chris mentions it, when they're at the dead end. Why don't he just take that dude's spirit and rip it out of his body? He could have done that and literally gain the magic, gain the power.
Gonna make him even more OP. Yeah. But if you can do things like jump out of a 50-story window, and I'm exaggerating because I don't know how high his father's room was, but you can jump out of that room with that little bit of mana. You could have put this guy down with that little bit of mana. It's not like he's a superhuman. This is the world you come from, where everybody is super strong. You're okay to flick a raisin at this guy and kill him. It's okay. You can do that. But again, I digress. It's leaving a lot of holes in my mind with this episode. But to move on to the part where the guys get hit, well, first you see the fake firebug is when he wears another disguise to be the maid and then gets took down by Lemons. You're right. We don't see how he goes with the cops and the other guy gets to drive away. We don't see that. But the guy who drive away, it just took me till right now, at this very moment, to realize that that's the uncle guy, or the guy who the grandfather set down in conversation. So now it's making sense that he got to drive away.
So he basically, the grandfather basically told him off, and he just left without really any reason.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. That does make sense. It just feels kind of odd because it's not explained.
We see them working together. Yeah. We just see them working together in the spirit's eyes. So we know that they're working together, but throughout that story, we don't see him anymore. We just see the firebug, or the fake firebug, as we know now. So it kind of... But what I don't understand, what I didn't get, is how did they know? The nephew, the guy with the glasses, how did he know specifically?
I think it's the same thing.
To pick this guy up.
The same thing with Carice. I think he's like Carice in that sense, where he has all that. He has cameras everywhere. He knows everybody. He kind of has that. Yeah. So I think that's the thing they're trying to say. Like, he is as much as powerful as Carice is for his family, and he can find things out, whatever he wants to find out. And that's the point that I think they're going to bring across for later on, but it's not really told here.
You do see how strong and evasive Lemmings is as a character in itself. And for Lemmings to be working up under this guy, as you see them all like gathered around before they go full on torture mode on the guy, which I'm assuming is what happens. They could have been getting ready to cut him free. Who knows? But you see all of these assumingly strong characters because they're standing there with Lemons. You just see the girl who punched out a window. So this guy has to be like that deal. Like he's got to be the guy. So I'm very interested in seeing how this plays out for Polka. Um, him being so weary of Polka in the first place, and I'm getting vibes that he may be the guy who set out the hit in the first place. But
Okay.
that's just my conspiracy theory.
Ladies and
He
gentlemen,
seems too strong for a random
yeah,
family member.
yeah, he does seem kind of strong. We were gonna watch the second episode tonight, but as I'm thinking about it, this episode was so deep. I think we'll wait till next week to watch the next episode of this, because now we're getting into the place where they're going. They're doing the level of thing where, and Chris remembers this, with they did with they did it with Demon Slayer a little bit, but they did it more with the other show we watched during that time period, where they gave us a lot of
Hell's
story
Paradise.
stuff. Yeah, Hell's Paradise.
Hell's
They
Paradise.
gave us a lot of story stuff in one episode. This is the episode where they gave us a bunch of story stuff. And now we all have them. We have every major player in this now. You have Lemmings. You have the Pokey's family, not the actual Pokey's. Pokey in the flesh. He's flesh, but he's not there. That family's around. You also have Clarice. You have the police. You have so many players, and you have Firestarter. We finally meet Firestarter. And Firestarter's a little girl that can just command fire and do some weird things in the shadows. Man, this is going to get very weird very quickly. But here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to ask the gentleman this question, and then we're going to be on the stream this evening. Honest, gentlemen, what would you give this episode of Dead Mount Death Play episode 6? Also, what would you give this series as a whole right now, since we're at the halfway point? So I'll start off with Dion for that.
This particular episode, I would have to give a 6.
Okay. Explain.
Like I said, the episode is leaving a lot of like holes in my brain, and tomorrow I may be able to fill those holes just common sense wise, but it's leaving a lot of why didn't they type of atmosphere, and it's just not sitting right with me. But it's not a bad episode because we do get the good little fight scene. But as far as the episode in a whole, there is a lot of just gaps that need to be filled, and hopefully in the later episodes they'll either fill them or make up for it. But as of right now, I'm just not feeling it enough to be like, yeah, this was an awesome episode. Now, I did get to see a character that I'm like, I want to see more of this character. I really want to see more of the dad or grandpa, but I hope they don't let me down and that's like the last we get to see of him and now it's all focused on the nephew. I want to see more of that, that strength.
Okay.
So this episode has kind of been limbo for me. It could go either way.
Okay.
The series in a whole,
yeah.
I'm gonna give it like a 6.7. It came out strong out of the gate. It came out super strong from the first episode, and then it's kind of been dwindling since then. But it's still got its potential, so it's still making me want to watch more. But it's not as strong as that first episode, and I'm just waiting to get back to that.
Okay. Chris, so like I asked for Dion, what would you give the episode, and what would you give the season so far as a whole?
So I would give the episode a 7.7.
Okay, you're a little bit higher than Dion. Why?
Well, because right now I feel like they're still setting up a good mystery. Like we still haven't like there. You can tell there's going to be a plot twist that comes at some point. Like because I feel like maybe this character might have like a sudden like pop, like when he realizes that wait a minute, the reason why this world is messed up is because of people like this, and then he'll just go into like an immediate type of unsupernatural slaughter. I'm still hoping I get a scene like that. That's why I feel like they're setting up. But because I feel like that there's going to be a good plot point, and that's what they're setting up. I give the season as a whole an 8.4.
Ooh. Okay. Why an 8? Because that's actually a bit higher, a little bit higher than
Yeah.
Dion. And yeah, why an 8? I'll say my thing in a second.
Because to me personally, they are setting it up. I believe that they're going to set it up for something good. I have hope. I really do.
Okay.
So, but and it's like I'm waiting for the plot point. You've given me a nice mix of action and storytelling to make me want to watch the next episode. Which is for me a big thing. If you can keep me entertained throughout the episode, it makes me want to keep watching instead of going to another show. Then yeah, you got me.
Okay.
But the only thing is, if I give it a high score based off of expectation, just know when the episode doesn't meet the expectation, it usually follows by an increasingly low score.
Okay. That makes sense. That both of those make sense. This one is tough for me.
How do you feel about it?
This one's tough for me because I think this episode is building to something. The only thing is we have all the players now. So they've built all the major players. You got Clarice and her crew. You got Pokey. You got the tech dude. You got the cops. We finally met who Lemmings was, who's working with the family we just met in this episode. And then we get the big reveal who might be Firestarter, the little girl on top of the bridge. But only thing is, I think there's a little bit of problem trying to get between each thing. In the sense that this episode focused on the family a lot, which is cool. Cool. Very interesting. Ultimately a good thing. Second, we get some time with the cops. They're meeting this dude. Cool. We see Lemmings again. Great. Absolutely fine. We get the whole little flashback into the current thing that's happening. Great. The only thing I'm kind of worried about this, I think we're going to lose a couple of characters. We met the grandfather. I feel bad with the Sandy. I'm about to throw cold water on your theory, on your hope.
I already know.
I
hate it.
I think this is the only time we see the grandfather. I think this is it. But my other thing is, I also think we're done with Clarice. She's mentioned this in this episode, but I don't think we see her again in the rest of the series. Only because I think she's not going to be a major player for the ending, for the back half. And I feel kind of bad because that's kind of going to suck. So I will give
both my favorite characters out of it. Okay.
I will give the episode. I think the episode deserves 10.5. Overall, good episode. Builds a lot of things. Keep building, fine. You left us with a couple of questions, fine. The one thing me and Chris talked about with Hell's Paradise, and I think the thing we both didn't like, Every time it gave us a bunch of questions, it didn't give us an answer right away. Fine, we're cool with that. Until I think when we watched The End of Hell's Paradise, it took to episode like 10 till we finally get answers. I hope we get answers a little bit faster than this, because you gave us all the major players. I'm not waiting until episode 10 to get answers about what's going on from episode 4, 5, or 4, 5, and 6. But the other thing is, I think introducing this family was a good way to introduce them. But there's also a lot of people in the family that aren't major players. So like half the people that in the family, the mom, but at one point she has a couple lines, don't really matter. And people that are in that family didn't really matter, so they're not going to be major players at the end. Fine. I also think if we have any more character changes, the other character change I would love to see, I think we're going to see Pokey be more serious. I think Pokey's going to stop having the emotional stuff, and he's going to be super serious, and he's going to go on some kind of like, oh, we're not playing with normal people anymore. We're not playing with people who aren't just innocent. We're playing with people who are kind of crazy, kind of weird, but also who also have the same idea, who also want to control this world. You know what? I'm going to pull out my full power. I'm going to beat up some people. I don't care about peace anymore. The peace is when they're all going to be done. I think that eventually comes because I think he's figuring out that this place is not normal. But the other thing I feel like that's going to have to be explained, if you don't explain it in this next episode, you're going to explain it later. I think it has to be explained next episode. Who is Firestarter and why is she important? Because you just can't show her and then just give us nothing. And then you're going to just leave us a mystery for a week or two, and then at the end, or a couple episodes, and then finally a later episode, you find out who she is. So that's why I'm giving it a 7.5.
That's the second person they've done that with.
Yes, it is. It is the second person they've done that with. The season as a whole, though.
Well, actually,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just saying they've really done that with a lot of their characters. The cops, Lemmings.
Yes. The cops and Lemmings. Teased but not really told about. Yeah.
We get a little background on Rissa, but we really don't know how she's important besides the fact that she's over the assassin organization.
Correct.
Like I'm getting left with more questions than any answers or character development for these supposedly strong intro characters. But go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. I do not mind you interjecting. I appreciate that. So to the season so far, and this is going to sound crazy, what I'm about to say. The season so far, I would have to give it a 9.5. And the reason why is because I think they've done a good job making this a mystery, but also making it feel like you care about these characters. You care about everybody so far we've met to a point. You care about the tech dude because the tech dude feels like he's got into something that he don't think he believes he should got into, but at a drop of a hat he will leave. You see the girl who just wants to see cool things, and now this zombie, and she's just like, I'm a badass. I can do whatever I want. But at the same time, you have Pokey who's bouncing out, making peace, and trying to fight off these problems. But then you have this family. They showed in this episode. This family that is this stoic family on the outside, but yet when push comes to shove, they can make things disappear. And I think we're going to see that dude they tied up is going to disappear. He's going to be gone, and then that's going to be it. But then you do the ultimate thing that I think is great. You show, but don't tell. And it's going to be I said this now to whoever watching the episode, I'll say it here. You show us the girl on the bridge with the umbrella saying fire safety. She's pulling the strings for the fire starters. But you know who she reminds me of? We call the girl Harley Quinn. The girl with the glasses, Harley Quinn. I think the girl with the umbrella, she's your Joker. Because she know that she won't be found out. She can stay in the shadows. She can pull the strings for her people. And yet, nobody will ever figure out who the real person is because she can have people take the fall for her. Until she finally has to come out and do what she has to do. Because she killed that dude with no remorse. And I'm guessing what they're going to try to do with the other dude tied up, they're going to try to torture him to find out who Firestarter really is. But I have a hunch he's going to die as well, either by them or by her. The animation's great. The characters are great. This is a great show. Even though it's a lot of questions, I'm here for the ride. And that's why I'm giving this a 9.5 so far. But I do agree with Chris. If it dips down in quality, I will lower it overall.
That part.
But let me know what y'all
I guess I jumped the gun and lowered it.
No, you're not wrong. I mean, neither one of y'all wrong. That's the problem. I just feel like it's good, but I think there's just I remember me and Chris like Tales of Paradise so much. We were also both like, give us something, give us a nugget of something. And when it finally did, we were like, oh, you were building up to this point to give us all the information. And you finally dumped all this information and it made sense. I wouldn't mind them doing it here, but it has to really, really make sense or it's gonna feel rushed. Because you set up all this stuff and now you have to try to.
Let me ask you this question, Randy.
Go ahead.
And Chris, I want you. Y'all don't have to answer it, but I want to ask it. And you can think about it, maybe return and talk about it. But how long throughout a season do you want to get the ball rolling? Like, are you ready for it to stop building and play out? Like right now, we're halfway through this season.
Okay.
So, like, how many more episodes would you want it to take to kind of go there?
I'll let you answer that first, Chris, then I'll answer.
So, when I think about it that way, for me, it would have to depend on the anime that I'm watching. Because there are some animes like, it's like, me, I can't watch an anime that's too slow. Like honestly, if an anime doesn't grasp me in the first episode, then I probably won't watch the rest of the season unless I hear something else good about it. However, to those animes that set a good pace in the first episode and continue that pace, I could keep watching it, to at least maybe episode 7 or 8, and then I would need them to kind of like, okay, come with the point. Like, what's the point? Where's the conflict? like what are you trying to do with this show? So yeah, does that answer your question?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, because like we see with like Jujutsu Kaisen, you can get through, what was it, 5 episodes, 5 or 6 episodes, 5 episodes, and bam, we're done. Story gone through. But then, like you guys said with Hell's Paradise, it took the entire season to get your questions answered.
Yep.
So,
like, what's the good balance?
To answer your question, Dion, and I love the back and forth this evening because it's been really good. I do appreciate that. To answer your question, I'm like Chris. If anime is slow from the beginning, I'll watch the first couple episodes and then I will probably stop. I did that, and I'm doing that right now, sadly, because I started season 3 of Attack on Titan. I finished season 3. I haven't started season 4 yet because season 3 was so kind of a lot of talking, a lot of politics stuff. It kind of just drained me. And I know season 4 is most of that way until a certain point. So I'll eventually get back into it. It just takes time. But personally, for me, I'm like, I do agree with Chris in this sense. It has to be 7, 8, or 9. Somewhere in between 7 and 9, episode 9, you have to give me something to get me the plot, to make the plot make sense. And I think that's the downside with Hell's Paradise. That's why a lot of people thought it was so weird. It took forever for action to happen in Hell's Paradise, because there was not really much action. The story was kind of plotting. But the thing with the story is plotting because they're doing the same thing that this show does here. We have different groups. All these different groups are around, and we're cutting from group to group. So in Hell's Paradise, it cut from group to group, and we learned about each group. And the groups came together. We figured out why they came together. We learned about why the groups did come together. We had a little bit of story about the overarching story. And then we went to other groups again, finally came together. We had our big moment, all that kind of stuff. Once we get to episode 10, we learned about boom, 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 boom. We learned about all these things and why these things were happening on this island. But it took a bit because they wanted to make sure they build up the world and the stuff around it. I'm cool with that. If you build up the world and build up things around it, fine. Unlike this episode, now the previous episode 5, where we're in the same place for most of the episode, this episode, they cut between the mansion, the police station. We cut to the street at one point to see where the guy gets punched out. We cut to a random building where the guy's held up. We cut to lemmings come out of nowhere near the mansion. We also cut back to the bridge where the guy's getting taken away by police. So they varied up the scenes. I think by the time we get to episode 8, I think we get the answers we need. But I think the cops are finally getting one thing they got to answer for. They got to answer from the guy, and now they're going to have to find what's really going on here. So they might go back to the people they've gone to. We don't know. But yeah, to answer your question fully, I think it's 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there. If it goes into 10, fine. But by episode 10, if you haven't gave me the answers, I'm probably kind of like a little bit annoyed. But I give you the benefit of the doubt. But ladies and gentlemen, I do thank you for watching. Hope you did enjoy. Like I said earlier while we were watching this, we are getting a season 2 of this. So I'm not too hopeful we're going to get a lot of answers because they're going to tease something for season 2. But I think this will give us enough answers going into season 2 and seeing what they want to lead us into. I do thank Chris. I do thank Dion for joining me. We'll be back next Tuesday for episode 18 of the Anime Dojo. We're going to be watching episode 7 of Dead Mount Death Play. Then we're going to be watching episode 8 the next Tuesday, and then we'll be back with Jujutsu Kaisen the next arc of season 2, where we're going to Shibuya. So look forward to that. I hope you stay for the ride. This has been a very interesting show on both ends of just like learning about it, kind of figuring out we want to figure out. We see their plot holes, but like Dion said, we might, as we sit down maybe tomorrow or some next day, we might see that, oh, that's what they're going for. That's the good thing with anime. You can learn about it as you go along. But I hope to hear from you next time. And I do thank you for watching. Hope to see you again. See ya.
Later.
Peace.